Will take us through much of the Cold War. And the Cold War doesn't end until 1989, 1990. So we won't get all the way through that. But start here at the end of the war. Okay, so the video I showed, one of the videos I showed the other day, guys, we had 16 million Americans that wore the uniform during World War II. At the end of the war, there were 12 million Americans in uniform. Okay, so by about a year later, we've shrunk that to 3 million. Okay, that's 9 million people that you got to integrate back into society. Truman was worried about the disintegration of our military. Guys, 3 million for the United States is a lot during peacetime. Okay, and we're still the only country with this until 1949, so need not worry. Okay, Congress was prepared for this huge influx of 9 million people back into civilian life. They actually did a really good job with this. Any of you guys that ever looked at the military as a possibility, you probably heard of the GI Bill or the GI Bill of Rights. Okay, the GI Bill did 4 things. It built hospitals. So, like, if you were to drive down East Kellogg, go down Kellogg East and look on the north side of the highway, you'll see this building. It's called Bob Dole Veterans Hospital. Okay, Bob Dole. Right? Now, we built these for our veterans, many of them wounded, obviously, from the war and so forth. And so usually build those near in cities where there are naval bases, Air Force bases, Army bases, and so forth. Okay. Now, if we got to build this hospital, we need construction workers. So the first ones hired will be veterans. We're going to give preference in government jobs to veterans. So if you need to staff this hospital with doctors and nurses, you would use veterans first to staff those if they wanted those jobs. Does that make sense? And then we're going to set aside money or earmark money for veterans to borrow cheap loans to buy houses and start families and start businesses and so forth. But the biggest part of the GI Bill was the free college and job training, which 8 million GIs took the government on at the cost of $14.5 billion. Now, if you recall, during the Great Depression, guys, college enrollment sank by about a third because people couldn't afford college, right? And even before the Depression hit in 1929, not a lot of people, not near as many people went to college, right? Who went to college? Really smart people and rich people, right? So now you got 8 million of these guys. Now, do you think they're qualified to go to college, a lot of these guys? I'm not trying to be mean here, but probably there's quite a few that are not. So how are you going to accommodate these GIs? You're going to have to first build more buildings, yes? And you might need to lower the standards for getting into college. Now, these universities are not going to turn away $14.5 billion, are they? So you want to talk about the cost of college, guys? This is where it starts. You get the government involved, you start getting grants and free money, then what do universities do? They start charging more money because they know the government's the one that's funding a lot of it. So they feel like, hey, we can raise prices. Yes? Pay attention. All right, now, guys, how many of you ever heard that, if you graduate from Bishop Carroll and you go to college, college is pretty easy compared to Bishop Carroll. Have you heard that before, like from older siblings, class? Yeah, of course. Now, guys, if you're going to, like my daughter's studying engineering right now, and she's already OChem 1 and 2 and Calc 1 and 2, and so that's hard. Okay. But if you go to Butler, all right, community college, you take English 101. Okay. You're going to be in there with a bunch of students that graduate from high schools that are at a 10th grade reading and writing level. And so the professor at Butler Community College, if they make it really hard and hold really high standards because it's college, what's going to happen to most of the kids in the class? They're going to flunk out, and they're not going to be paying tuition, and that professor's not going to have a job. So what do? You lower the standards. Okay, and guys, we went through this in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and early 2000s, guys, it's like everybody should go to college, right? So you got more people getting loans, you got government giving more grants, making it easier to go to college, and what happens? Price keeps going up, and then let's create a whole bunch of new majors that you can't find a job with after you get a 4-year degree. that makes a lot of sense. Now we've got $13 trillion or $1.3 trillion, whatever trillion dollars in student loan debt that people can't pay. This is not working well. Okay, so we've started to wake up to this and say, you know what? We need more HVAC people. We need more electricians. We need more plumbers. Maybe students should do that instead of going to college. Yes? So we're waking up to this. So guys, I assume all of you are going to college. You're going to learn how to fly. The rest of y'all going to college? What are you going to study? Not going to college. What are you doing? You got a job lined up? Okay. Get it done. All right. Good, man. You can come out. You'll probably make more money than I did. Like immediately. Okay. And I have a master's degree. Okay. Look what that's got me. All right. I got in front of you. Here we go. And some of you guys can get some college credit for this class. So good for you. All right. Rock on. All right. So I'm happy. Are you happy? I hope you're happy. Okay. I want you to be happy. All right. We're moving on. All right. All right, next slide. Guys, atomic power. What are we going to do with this new like technology? So I don't know. Well, first of all, we don't want uranium and plutonium to fall in the wrong hands. So it becomes monopolized. Only the government can possess this unless you have permission from the government to possess this. Okay. Now, what about looking for peaceful ways? Like, I don't know, nuclear power plants. Yeah, that's a great byproduct of war. Yes? Now, we want green energy. Let's build a bunch of, windmills and solar plants, right? How about we just build more of these? Like the technology today for nuclear power is way better than it was in the 1950s when we built most of the ones we're using now, which are really old, that we should probably replace because the older they get, the more dangerous they are. Man. People are scared of this stuff, but guys, it's the answer to our problems, guys. Britain just started running coal again because it's winter and it's Europe and there's a war in Ukraine and Russia has all the gas and Europe doesn't have any, so they're burning coal again. How about nuclear power? You get way better deal. Way better deal. Okay, never mind. We're moving on. All right, what else? What else? We got some other problems. Now, when the war's over, it's all the production for the war, right? The planes, the tanks, all the jeeps, all the stuff, right? Well, guys, expect an economic slowdown? Well, not really. Unless you're a woman working in a factory when the men come back and they say, hey, there's plenty of jobs for men. Oh, sorry, ladies. We got to give these jobs to the men. You need to marry one and have kids. Sorry. That's what happened. Okay. Now, some women were able to keep their jobs, but anyhow, no lack of jobs. We got prosperity, guys. The Council of Economic Advisors, things go actually pretty well. Now, there's a problem because during the Depression, guys, we had price controls because we were in a depression. And then we had a war, and we had rationing and price control. So the government controlled what the cost of butter was. You understand? You with me, right? Now, the war's over, so we're going to do away with that, right? Because we live in a free market capitalist economy, and the market will determine prices, not the government, right? Right. Truman wants price controls because we're about to have inflation, okay? Like, worse than what we have now. I know that's hard to believe, okay? But food prices right now, year to year, 18% up from last year, okay? We're going 25 here, okay? Now, the railroad workers and the coal miners want to go on strike. And this will be devastating to our economy. So Truman wants to pass in Congress a national emergency bill. Congress doesn't pass it because they're Republicans. But Truman threatens the strikers, you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your benefits, and I'm going to force you to join the army. Can Truman do that? No, he can't. But he scares them back to work, okay? Now, as I said, Truman wanted price controls. Congress said, no, we're going to let the market determine prices. Food, clothing, fuel up 25%. Okay, so we had a correction. All right, now, Truman is dealing with this new Republican Congress that I'll talk about in a second. Now, today, guys, we do have a National Economic Emergency Act. Last week, Congress intervened in a possible railroad strike in the United States. Any of you guys hear about this in the news? Crawl out from underneath that rock. Okay, Congress intervened. Yes, thank you. Okay, now, guys, because if the railroad went on strike, this would be devastating to our economy. You understand, like, we use the rail a lot in this country. Okay, so it would be devastating, so Congress stepped in. In the 80s, the air traffic controllers went on strike. What do air traffic controllers do? They try and stop planes from crashing into each other and causing hundreds of deaths. Yes? All day, every day. Now, you think about planes in the sky, yeah, don't run into each other. But really, you talk about Atlanta Airport, Hartsfield International, which is the busiest airport in the world. Okay, there's tons of planes taking off and landing at the same time on a bunch of different runways, and you better have people controlling that. Yes? Or you have massive death. Okay, 11,000 air traffic controllers went on strike in the 1980s. Reagan said, you cannot be on strike, you need to go back to work. And they said, no, we're not. He says, okay, listen, under this law, if you don't go back to work, you will forfeit your jobs. You have 48 hours to go back to work. They called his bluff. They didn't go back to work. What did Reagan do? He fired 11,000 aircraft controllers, okay? Air traffic controllers, thank you. Good morning. They never got their jobs back. Now, where are you going to find people that know how to read radar so our planes can fly? Who's going to train them? Who knows how? Who? Say it. Somebody said it. Military. Yeah, you bring in the military to run the air traffic control and train new ones, and those other people never got their jobs back. Moral of the story, don't mess with Reagan. Irony of the story, after Reagan died, they named Washington, D.C. International Airport Reagan International after he fired 11,000 airport employees. Okay, moving on. I love it. Okay. Now, this 80th Congress, guys, Roosevelt had been president since 1932. It's 1946, guys. Like, the Republicans are tired of the Democrats being in charge, and so are the American people. So for 2 years, and 2 years only, the Republicans will control both houses of Congress. This 80th Congress did a lot to undo the New Deal. Yes? Okay, that's what they're going to try and do. All right? Now, they got a Democratic president, Truman. Truman's got his own things he wants to do, but the Republicans are going to say, no. Okay. Now, the leader of the Republicans in Congress was this guy, Robert A. Taft, son of President Taft, both of Ohio. Okay. Now, Robert Taft, as a conservative, they called him Mr. Republican. He said the government can't legislate, that means make a law, making you prosperous, making everybody equal, or giving everybody the same opportunity. So let me play a little game right here. Okay, Brent, can government pass a law today that makes you prosperous? They could pass a law that say, we're going to give you $1 million. Are you now prosperous? Or you just have a lot of money? You just have a lot of money. Now, you can become more prosperous if you do good with that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it work for you, right? But in reality, how do you become prosperous? You work hard, and then you save money, and then you put that money to work for you, making you prosperous. Yes? Now, if you don't save any of your money or invest your money, you'll never become prosperous. Does that make sense? Okay, so how do we become prosperous? We work hard. We find a way. Okay, government can't do that for you. It just can't. Now, can it make all of us equal? Now, I'm not talking about equal under the law. The 14th Amendment says all American citizens have equal protection under the law. The law, ladies and gentlemen, should be colorblind. Was the law always colorblind? So we had things like Jim Crow laws and slavery before that. Well, 14th Amendment didn't come until after slavery was banned, but right after it. Because 13th Amendment banned slavery, the 14th Amendment said equal protection for all citizens. Yes? But we didn't do very good. We're doing better on that now than we ever have. But we're talking about equality of outcome, like we all turn out equal in the end. Can the government pass a law that makes all of us equal in the end? Yes, if we become communist and the government says we're all going to make the same amount of money, which will start with $50,000 a year, and eventually that'll wind down like the Russians to $20,000 a year, and we'll all be poor, okay, together. And we're not doing that, so we're just not going to do that yet, okay? Now, what about opportunity? Can the government pass a law that gives all of us the same opportunity in life? They can try. In this country, what do we do to try and give everybody an opportunity in this country? An equal opportunity. Free education through high school. I got Klumpney, you guys know Klumpney in my first hour, 0 hour, and he goes to Wichita State in the afternoon, studies HVAC. Okay? That dude gets an HVAC certification, gets a job, starts working, probably making more money than I do. I asked Klumpney, hey, are you having to pay for that? He goes, no, it's free. Part of his education at Bishop Carroll now. Great, right? Now, what you do with that free education is up to you. Yes? Now, you take a child that's born in Andover, Kansas, to two parents, mom and a dad. Both mom and dad have college degrees. That kid's got a pretty good opportunity in life. This kid over here, born in Washington, D.C., in the inner city, to a single parent that is a crackhead or a drug addict, does that child have the same opportunity as this kid from Andover? No. So as a society, what do? We try and provide an opportunity through education for every child to get out of that situation if they were born into a tough one. Yes? How are we doing on that? We're not doing very good. Part of the problem is the breakdown of the family, right? So like when you guys have kids, when you have your own kids and you're getting ready to send them to kindergarten, you want your child, if your child knows the ABCs, or maybe is starting to learn how to read, or maybe, by first grade, some basic arithmetic that they learn at home, so they don't have to learn it from the teacher, they can expand on that with the teacher, yes? Then your child is ready, and they will hopefully be successful in school. But a lot of parents don't do that, you understand? Yes? Now, guys, I'm not a single parent, but I've played one. Like, I was going to graduate school, getting a master's in history, which is a lot of work, okay? A lot of reading, a lot of writing, wife traveling, 2 kids under the age of 5. Dude, life sucked. I'd come to work, do this all day. I'd go get my kids from school, get them some, get dinner ready. I don't have time to work with you on this. Here, watch this video. Here, go watch TV, okay? Then I need to do some stuff on my own. You keep watching TV, and then we'll get dinner and then bath and bed, and then we'll do it over tomorrow. I don't have a lot of time to spend on you. You understand? And there are more kids with single parents than we've ever had in the history of this country. And that makes it difficult to continue to provide this opportunity. So this is the most important issue we have in this country. Besides maybe national security is education. We're not doing very good. I got some ideas, but I'm not going over them today. Okay? All right. So how do these things come? From free Americans working out their own destiny. Get the government out of the way. Let people achieve. Let them prosper on their own. Don't put up roadblocks to that. That's a conservative way of thinking, Mr. Republican Robert Taft. Moving on. All right. Unions, guys. Remember, Roosevelt wanted to help the unions, and the unions did well under Roosevelt. Now the Republicans are in charge, and some of those union people are communists, and we don't like communists, so we're going to stick it to the unions. Okay, Taft-Hartley, 1947, still much of it is law today. Okay, so closed shops. Let me put up a couple of maps here. This will help me explain it. Okay, now these are right-to-work states versus union shops. Now, a closed shop, guys, is if you work for Boeing in Seattle, Washington, okay? A closed shop would say that before you apply for a job at Boeing, you have to join a union first and pay dues, then you can get an interview. What? That's illegal. Taft-Hartley banned those. But they did allow for union shops. So if you work in Washington State, for Boeing, and there's a sheet metal workers union at Boeing, you have to join. If you are a teacher in California and there's a teachers union, you had to join the teachers union. Now, if you live in Kansas, doesn't matter what the company is, the government or others, it's a right to work state. You don't have to join the union. If they say, hey, you have to join the union, you hire a lawyer and you sue their ass. Because they can't force you to join a union in a right to work state. Everybody with me? Okay, now, let me fast forward to the next map. You might notice, I noticed right off the bat, Michigan and Wisconsin, which used to be union shops, Michigan and Wisconsin are now right to work states. See, Detroit, Michigan used to be the largest auto manufacturing city in the world. Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, right? Building cars like cars and cars. Okay, and then the United Auto Workers, the union there for all the auto workers said, hey, you need to pay our workers more. And they said, okay, we'll pay you more. And then they said, we want to get paid more. And so, guys, by the early 90s, the average auto worker was making $48 an hour to work on the line. Do you have to have a college degree? No. And then Bill Clinton came along, Democrat, and said, hey, we're going to pass the North American Free Trade Agreement. And you know what, Ford Motor Company? If you want to build a plant in Mexico, you can build cars in Mexico, and you won't have to pay any tariffs bringing those cars back in. And Ford said, oh, nice. I can pay somebody $10 an hour in Mexico instead of $48 here. So unions basically bankrupted Detroit. And our government let businesses go overseas with no tariffs coming back in. That's our Belgium. I went fast. Okay. More to come tomorrow. Okay. Oh boy. Yep. That belt got snuck up on me.